So it was a few days ago. My daughter came home from school. She goes to a school up in the north of Israel, and she was very upset. They had been studying the Shmona Esrei, the Amida prayer, and she'd focused on one of the brachot, the final bracha, the final blessing for peace, Birkat HaShalom. And as you know, the Birkat HaShalom, the blessing for peace, talks about peace and goodness and blessing and chen v'chesed v'rachamim, a grace and loving kindness and compassion. And see, my daughter is an Israeli, and she found this really annoying. She says, look, if you're going to do a blessing for peace, why all this faffing around with love and compassion and all that? Why aren't you just talking about the end of wars and no more missiles and no more guns and no more people having to go into armies? That would be a blessing for peace. And I said to her, you know, that's a really interesting point. That would probably be a really good topic for my JDOV talk. So I'd like to share with you my answer to my daughter Hila. And what I spoke to her about peace, and I spoke to her about storytelling. So the way that I'm going to try and structure this is that first I'm going to talk a little bit about what's involved in storytelling. Then I'm going to look at real life and see how storytelling may act as a useful metaphor for interactions in real life. And then where our interactions get conflictual, there may be some storytelling techniques that might be useful. Okay? So to tell you a little bit about what's involved in storytelling, it turns out I've been working in storytelling for 25 years. I've done Jewish traditional tales, Orthodox, ultra-Orthodox, non-Orthodox conflicts, Palestinians, Israelis, and throughout this I've realized that there are really only two roles for a storyteller. You're the narrator, the person who weaves meaning out of action, and you're the characters. You play the different characters. Because normally in stories there are lots of characters. There may be the old man, and then you're the narrator again. And then you have to be kind of a tree who, gives some wisdom or something, and then you're the narrator again. Then there's the little kid, and then you're the narrator again. And this jumping in between characters and going back to the narrator and then jumping to another character and then coming back to narrator, and all these different characters, this jumping around, I tend to call it going to visit and coming home. Going to visit and coming home. And there's a physical technique to that. So for example, if I'm going to visit an old man, okay, so he's an old guy, so I'll do it physically. So first of all, I'll work probably the shoulders are hunched over because time has done its job. And this guy is a worker, he's a farm worker, so he's got kind of gnarled hands, and he's got something of a physique which is still left over. And because he shouts a lot, he's probably got a croaky kind of voice. And then there's also the possibility that his shape may change over time through the story. I'm going to leave his voice for a little while, but we'll hold on to his shape. That it may be, maybe he's now regretting the fact that he jilted his lover when he was younger. And that slap that she gave him leaves the shape of his face from then on. So what I do is I try and lock in the shape there, kind of building like a suit of armor, so I can leave it and come home to be a narrator, and then jump back in and then leave it, and jump back in and go visit, and then come home. And what I've found is that this technique is not easy for proper actors. Because proper, talented, brilliant actors don't do things halfway. They don't go visiting. Proper, real actors do it all the way. They give their heart, their soul, their memories, their thoughts, their emotions, their body to the character. Jean-Louis Barrault, a famous French actor, once talked about how acting is the ultimate expression of love, because you just give your entire self to the other person. He was French, that's the way they do things. So with that kind of acting, these actors find it quite difficult to leave their character and then jump back in being a narrator, because they've put everything inside, and they find it particularly difficult to jump from this character and pull out all the work that they've invested in and then invest a whole load more work into a different character. They are much better at sticking into one particular role and doing it full on. Now, in my work on stage and with education work with Makom, talking about Israel education, I've realized that what we do in the Middle East, most of us, in our normal lives, is that we tend to go about our lives with the actor's head. we tend to be fully committed to the role that we're playing to such an extent that we find it very difficult to ever leave our role and imagine what it might be like in the role of our antagonist. And for two very good reasons. First of all, if I'm a proper actor, if I need to empathize with you, that means I need to totally be you, which means I lose me. I need to completely surrender to you because that's what actors do. And surrender in the Middle East is not a meditative word. It reeks of defeat. And so, but there's another reason why, if I'm stuck in my role, I'm not going to go out to you, because really I need to come back home and lose my role for a second and gain a bit of perspective and work out who I'm talking to. But I don't want to, because I'm angry with you and because I'm shouting at you and you've got me annoyed. And so I'm not going to go home and find some perspective. And even if I do go home, the door's locked with my anger and with my frustration and my fear. Some time back, I found for myself a key to unlock the door to coming home to some perspective. And I found it in theatre. I was working on this very modest little project. We were going to adapt the entire book of Genesis for the stage. I don't know why it never happened, but it was a great idea. So I'm working with these actors, and the actors are cool with the whole going to visit bit. And so we've worked out how to play the character of Isaac and play the character of Rebecca. What we haven't worked out is who is the narrator, because this is the Bible. So coming home to be just me, just Robbie, doesn't work. Robbie didn't tell the Bible. And Moses was a bit cliched, and the redactor sounded too much like Doctor Who. So in the end, we decided that the narrator of the Bible was the angel, was an angel. And so then the question is, so how the hell do you play an angel? How do you act like an angel? And so we approach this acting like an angel. Well, first of all, so according to Jewish tradition, what's an angel? What are the characteristics of an angel? Well, so first off, an angel is created with a very particular, specific purpose in mind. And an angel is capable of doing anything, but will only do what is required in order to fulfill that purpose. Which means that an angel has no needs. An angel doesn't need to eat, doesn't need to sleep, doesn't need to do any bodily functions whatsoever, because the angel is just there for its particular function. We know, we've heard that beautiful little saying from the Talmud that every single blade of grass in the world has an angel by it going, grow, grow. I just love the image of I know it's more of a gnome than an angel, but anyway. So the other key thing about an angel is that an angel doesn't believe in God, because an angel knows God. An angel doesn't need faith that everything's going to be all right, because an angel knows it's going to be all right, because the angel's been around the guy who's got the plan. But how do you perform an angel? So now I'm going to show you something which normally takes several hours in a closed studio with professional actors and no windows, so there's no one around to guffaw. But I'm going to show you a little bit of the process that we go through, or that I go through with actors in order to find the angel, how to act like an angel. We start with the cliches. Okay, we start with, okay, imagine angel, the wings, the lyre and stuff like that, but mainly the wings. Okay, and so we flap around. You see, you're allowed to laugh, but it's actually very serious. So anyway, we flap around and we imagine what it's like to fly and to have the incredible, the strength and the power to be an angel. I can do anything and I can glide and I fly, and it's this wonderful sort of flying kind of feeling. And then the next trick is, or the next thing that we ask of people is we say, see whether you can hold on to that flying without flapping your arms. See whether you can hold on to that flying without flapping your arms, and then see whether you can hold on to that flight even without moving your legs. See whether you can do that, and see whether you can lock in that feeling of angel even without holding up your chest slightly. And can you hold on to, lock in that angel? And when I find that angel, sometimes when I'm in an argument, when I'm in a conflict, and I can't get out of my role, and I can't find my way home, I remember the angel. The angel isn't home. The angel's kind of there, just opening the door, saying, come in. And when I go home in a state of conflict, whether this is a personal conflict or a political conflict, once I know I can come home, then it's far easier for me to go to visit somebody else's point of view. And then my visiting is conducted with far more humility, and my listening is of a greater standard. And when I leave them and come back home, I haven't entirely left them. I've somehow managed to contain what they've been saying to me. And because I'm confident about being at home, I can go visit other perspectives and other people, all of whom I just end up containing rather than conflicting with. And then I begin to understand a different understanding of what peace means, at least in Jewish tradition, that peace, shalom, the shlemut of things, is also about containing opposites. That the wolf and the lamb, when they lie down together, we don't pull the wolf's teeth out, nor do we construct a wall between them, but somehow we find a way to contain these opposites. And these ideas of these opposites and being able to hold these ideas reach an idea of peace, which I've learned from various people, Lisa Jane Dish, Hannah Arendt and Alec Isaacs. I'm not quoting them because I don't fully understand them, but if you want to know more, read their stuff. But this vision of peace is something which enables me to touch a little bit of something that my daughter was complaining about. Because in this visiting and coming home, I touch that compassion. In this visiting and coming home, I touch the chen and the chesed and the rachamim, and reach through this angelic storytelling a different possibility for reaching peace.